This time last year was an emotional roller coaster to say the least. But now Stanford feels like home, and there's so much that I wish I knew when I was applying. So here's the advice of 20 current Stanford students. Okay, but before we get into all the student advice, I'd like to give a really big thank you to Curicular for sponsoring this video and also providing a discount code to all of you guys. Curicular is an affordable college admissions platform which connects students to advisors from top universities, whether those are Ivy League schools or Stanford, etc. Their goal is to make the college admissions process more affordable and more accessible, so they are especially focused on empowering first-generation and low-income students to achieve their admissions goals. So if you're a senior who needs an extra set of eyes on your essay right before you turn it in, Curicular offers feedback on Common App statements for as low as $37. And if you're an underclassman who wants a lot more guidance in the process, they also offer those services. So I really encourage you to go ahead and check out the link in my description box, and I hope you enjoy this video. What is something that you wish someone would have told you when you were applying to Stanford?
I think you can be happy wherever you are, so even though there's a lot of pressure that goes with the admissions process, just take it easy and take care of yourself, because no matter where you end up, you will be happy.
One thing I wish someone told me when I was applying to college was that your essays don't need to sound super smart and sophisticated, but it's more about like showcasing how you're unique in comparison to other applicants.
I think one of the most helpful things I did in the application process was sort of pick out a couple like one-word values. And there are lists online. I think Brene Brown has a list or something from her Dare to Lead book. But I sort of went through and identified my values, and I think they shined through in my writing, and it sort of just really showed my most authentic self to like the readers, and I think they actually took away those values without me even explicitly saying them in the essays. Like when I went back and looked at my admissions file, they sort of articulate those values as well. So I recommend going through and like finding 2 to 3 values that really resonate with you, and then think about them as you're writing your essays.
I would say to just be like really genuine, because like a lot of times for college apps you're like tempted to be someone like cooler and like someone that you're not really, and like maybe it'll work, but like if you get in you kind of feel like maybe you would feel like you didn't deserve to get in for who you really are, whereas if you like are really genuine in your application, you know that the school liked you for who you are and not for someone you pretended to be.
My advice would be to take a risk on your essays, especially the supplements. Like be creative, say what you want to say. If you're applying to like Stanford and other like top schools, are hard to get into, so might as well take a risk or you might regret it.
Specifically for Stanford, I feel like a main part of it is being authentic to yourself. So for my roommate essay, which if you're going through the process right now, you'll look at it, the readers really liked that essay. It was probably one of their favorites, and I think it's just because I showed them my authentic self. I absolutely added no academic background in there, and it was all just talking about my personality, what I like to do, how I'm an only child, I love making friends and going out, and they just loved it. And I think it really shows that to stand out or just to be yourself is kind of the best way to go about it in the application process.
You know that part of the Common application where it asks you about your future plans or employment? You can write anything you want there if you click other.
Love it! What did you write?
I don't remember, but it was something about how I want to write books that I want to read.
I love that.
That's not what I'm doing now, but yeah.
Thank you, that's perfect.
I guess the main thing is to try and like take all your like activities and things that you do and try and tie them into like one sort of cohesive story of like who you are and what kind of person you want to be and like what you want to do in the future with your life.
Do not procrastinate. I submitted my application 2 hours before it was due, and I honestly did not have the best application. It could have been a lot better. There was definitely a lot of typos in it, and my thoughts were not that clear, so do not procrastinate because it's not worth it.
But look at you now.
Look at us now.
It's okay for your essays to not be edited, and it's okay to have fun with your essays.
Hi guys, I'm Janelle. Nice to meet you.
So you already know who Janelle is, but we ran into each other at a French cafe near campus.
I love how it's off campus too. It's not even at Stanford. That's hilarious.
She's literally the nicest person ever, exactly how you would expect it of me from her videos.
Thank you.
And she's about to give you some advice. So what is something that you wish someone would have told you before you applied to Stanford?
do things in high school that you're actually passionate about. People feel like they have to do all different types of activities and extracurriculars to get into Stanford, but it's like I fully focused on my own passions, my own interests, and it came across in my application. And it may seem like very cliche, but it's like if you are authentically yourself in your application, it'll come across. And if you're passionate and if you demonstrate like a clear like path of interest, like your admissions officer will see that. And so honestly, like, girl, you can do it. I promise. I know it's so overwhelming. When you're in the college admissions process, it's like the worst time of your life. And I get it. And then it's like 2 years later, like being like a Stanford student and like, you know, just living my life. I'm just like, I worked this hard like to get here and it's like all worth it. So also remember, everything will work out the way it's supposed to. Everything will work out.
This is so true.
It will. And like I had never expected to get into Stanford and here I am. So it's like everything will work out the way it's supposed to. Trust the process, queens.
Yes.
I'm rooting for you. I'm rooting for you.
Thank you so much.
Of course.
I would say my biggest piece of advice is to actually ignore what everyone else is telling you. Forget about having a spike, forget about being well-rounded, and just be really true to yourself when you're answering the essay prompts and just have fun with it as much as you can. And my second piece of advice is to be really organized, especially if you're applying to a lot of universities, because what you can do is reuse your essays and recycle and re-edit without actually using any new content, and that can be really helpful.
My advice to any applying students to any prestigious college or Stanford in general is to constantly remind yourself that you get to do what you do. So you don't just have to do homework, you don't have to hang out with your friends, you don't have to do anything, but you get to do things. And so constantly reflect and constantly be in the moment while you're at whatever university you apply to.
I love that so much. Thank you.
Yeah.
I would say just like learn about things that make Stanford unique, because I feel like a lot of people when they apply to Stanford, they just give general reasons that can apply to literally any college anywhere. But when you're applying somewhere, you really want to make sure that there's like specific things that really draw you to that place.
Amazing. Thank you.
I would say that to get into Stanford, something you should do is find a spike. Find something that you're good at. For me, it was expressing myself in like public speaking. So I talked a lot about theater and debate and being part of ASB, places where I could express myself and get myself out there. So find that spike and find what you're good at and talk passionately about it in your application and in your interview.
Okay, so my advice for people applying to Stanford or whatever prestigious college you want to get into is learn how to write in high school and learn how to infuse your voice into your writing. Because if you don't know how to do that, then you won't be able to convey your ideas properly. So that's my advice to you.
I wish someone would have told me like just be true to yourself. I think a lot of people try to like force answers that they think the person reading it would want to hear. And instead, I think just being honest about who you are as a person and upfront. So yeah.
Everyone here is extremely unique with very like weird and quirky interests. So don't be afraid to be you in your application. Like that's actually what they're looking for.
Advice that I would have for freshmen who are applying to college or applying to Stanford is first off, you'll end up where you need to be. So you don't have to worry about being different or better than who you are. You should be exactly who you are, and the college that is right for you will pick you and you will pick them. And just trust me, everything will work out in the end. So you don't have to be stressed or concerned about it. Just enjoy senior year while you can.
Finally, Nadia, what is your piece of advice to people who are applying right now?
I think I have two main pieces of advice. And the first is that every school has a different personality and they're looking for different traits. And what really surprised me about what the admissions officer said during admit weekend was that the trait they were looking for the most in all of their applicants was kindness, which I would have expected them to be looking for excellence or academics or something like that, but I don't think that the school expects you to be perfect in terms of what you've achieved. I think they expect you to be a person who will take criticism well or who will be kind to their peers and foster a really good community at Stanford. So I think you just want to be attuned to the vibe of the school, and honestly, I do think that they go off of vibes a lot in your application. And the second thing is that you really have to prove why you have to go to Stanford and why Stanford needs to have you. So I don't think that it's really enough to just prove that you're a great applicant, because maybe Stanford looks at your application and thinks, wow, they're brilliant and Harvard should have them, or wow, they're brilliant and they should go to UCLA. Because I think what you want to show is that you know Stanford so well and you fit with Stanford's vibe and campus culture so well that you will be like perfectly cohesive with their environment and you will really thrive in it. So I'd encourage you to look for the specific parts of Stanford which make you the most excited. And on the other end of this, I now know that I love the dorm culture and I love the way that freshmen interact with one another, and I don't know that that's something I would get at any other school, so I would have really emphasized that in my application if I could go back and rewrite some of my essays. Thank you all so much for watching this video. I really hope that this student advice was helpful, and as always, please feel free to leave suggestions in the comments. Bye!